Some of me, they'll be free to respond to any query, and I'll also be tipping in. We can receive some more questions.
Okay, so take note of that. Then Honorable Mamuka. Your mic.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. On page 4 of the presentation, on major pronouncements in the 2025 budget for the NHS, 5.4.1, for me is an important aspect if it is provided in the 2025 budget. But was this issue interpreted, whereas in the committee was informed that the ministry in 2025, through the Petroleum Development and Management Program, developed the new Tazama product pipeline. Has it been validated? If it has not been validated, if your committee interrogate the Ministry of Energy, this is an important announcement. This is what we do for price for this country. This is the direction of the But was it interrogated with the portfolio ministry? How do they aim to achieve this? Number one, if money is in the budget, if money is not in the budget, how are they going to achieve this particular important intervention?
Thank you. You can respond to us.
The next question is
Chair, in responding to Honorable Smushi's question, as presented by the acting chair, the overall observation of the committee was that all the 4 aids were insufficiently funded in regards to the proposition in the budget. Chair, I wish to note that this committee looks at very critical sectors insofar as what the current situation in the country is. Because one of the biggest challenges we have as a country is the crisis in the energy sector, which obviously has been as a result of major happenings in the economy. We are talking about the drought, which has resulted in water levels dwindling. And so when you look at the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Water, Ministry of Energy, all these 4 ministries put together, Chair, form part of the core of the problem we have today. And so it was expected as a committee that instead of allocations reducing from the previous budget, the entire heads, the 4 heads should have received sufficient allocations. If you peruse through the detailed report, you will see that we singled out specific areas that needed enough funding. I will cite examples, renewable energy. When you look at the report on the Ministry of Energy, renewable energy and the intervention has received very little allocation. But overall, the committee notes that the allocation to all these 4 heads is insufficient, particularly to address the critical challenge we have faced with today, which is the energy crisis. As a chair.
Then to respond to the second question, the construction of the pipeline from Daswan to Zambia, this issue was interrogated, and what the technocrats informed the committee is that they have planned to construct this pipeline next year.
Chair, well, if you look at 5.7, that is called 2101, Petroleum Development and Management. The allocation there, Chairman, for the budget for 2025 is, I think, 175 million baht. So how would the minister expect, Chairman, to construct a product pipeline from Dar es Salaam into Ndola with 175 million baht?
Chair, what we were actually advised is that the government has gone into a triple P. So through the triple P, that pipe will be able to be constructed. Thank you.
Okay, another question, Honorable members?
Yeah.
Oh, Honorable Simonji.
Thank you, Chair. I'll take you to program 2104, which Honorable who was talked about. Chair, when you look at the trend from 2023, 2024, the budget has been static, but 2025, the budget has gone down. when you look at the current situation in which we are, we expected the budget for this defense to go up, but actually we are seeing a reduction. Now, if you go to the next page, under 5.8, you see that in 2022, the budget was 2 billion, expenditure was less than half. In 2023, the budget was 2 billion, expenditure was about 24%. So even here, where we are seeing a reduction in the budget, I expect maybe the expenditure will be half. So I want further from the committee. Did you try to interrogate the witnesses how we are going to survive with such an amount of budget in the of energy? Thank you.
Can you respond to that?
Sure.
Thank you very much. I could probably compliment the response from our chairperson of the committee. In respect to the performance of the budget vis-a-vis the amount which was allocated, the amount which was assimilated by the line ministry, and the balance in terms of disbursement. On the average, Ministry of Energy roughly received about slightly above 50% of the allocation in this year's budget, meaning there is still a huge chunk of money to be disbursed. And looking at the period we're in, this is October. So if your budget cycle is 12 months and you're in October and you've not been able to receive 90 or 100% disbursement, automatically it means whatever the balance is remaining, the ministry itself may not be able to assimilate, the remaining funds, even if they were disbursed now, because time has run out. That was one. The second factor which emerged was that there's too much bureaucracy in implementing, government programs. And top of the agenda in the bureaucracy is that our public servants are not protected, An error, administrative error, is easily misconstrued as willful failure to follow procedure, and there's a lot of people don't want to be appearing in courts. So you find that a good number of them are failing to make prompt decisions, especially in a crisis. Because in a crisis, when we interrogated the Minister of Energy, we appealed to him that when you have an energy crisis, you need to release, the efforts of your most smartest technocrats to apply themselves. But application of themselves, at times, there may be an administrative lapse. Because of fear of audit queries, fear of any lapse being misconstrued to be, a criminal offense, the performance in terms of making quick and prompt decisions to mitigate the energy crisis we have was not there. That was the observation of the committee. Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to add on, Honorable Mpundi?
Yeah, Chair, the Honorable member for Narikwanda is the observation is correct. We too as a committee did make this observation that insofar as on one hand we are making lamentations that we are receiving inadequate funding, the Ministry of Finance is not coming to the party in promptly disbursing these funds. But still that doesn't take the outcry now that the four heads we are sitting on as a committee required sufficient funding in light of the challenge that we are going through vis-a-vis the energy sector. So despite that observation being very correct that we need to have funding being given to these ministries promptly, we still continue to make this observation that these ministries should have been given a better allocation to address this challenge. Because, Chair, you agree with us that the energy sector affects every other, facet of our lives. And so it was only prudent that the ministry should have considered apportioning more resources into the four heads. Because, Chair, for us to be able to manage future challenges. The agriculture sector is dependent on us having correct information from the meteorological department. When you look at the allocation, we do, of course, if you peruse through the report, there's a little bit of an increment in the allocation towards the meteorological department, but we needed much more so that the information being given is accurate so that other sectors are prepared to meet the challenges thereof. So the observation is correct, but we still want to continue making this call that these 4 sectors needed to be adequately funded or otherwise.
Thank you. Honorable, now those I'm not the one who is supposed to call you to, but because you're part of the, you can Honorable Member for Kafue.
Chair, mine is just a simple one, because I seem to be seeing what the other colleagues and the Honorable Member who raised the issue, observed. Because in his statement, he made reference to 2104, Program 2104, and that there was a reduction, over the years from 2023 into 2025. I'm referring to the table under 5.7 on page 13. For me, what I'm seeing is that there's been actually an increase, because we are talking about 20 million, 90 million, something in 2023, and 2024, the amount was stagnant. But in 2025, it has actually slightly gone up to 92 million, which is an increment, at least in nominal terms. That's the observation I'm making.
Okay. Yeah, in fact, he alluded to that fact to say, although there's a bit of a marginal increase in the current budget consideration, the amount is still a bit insufficient. Yeah. Honorable Nyirana.
Thank you very much, Chair. Honorable Chair, I take you to page 15 on your recommendations, where one of your recommendations is that in order to accelerate electrification, the committee recommends that the ministry should increase investment in off-grid renewable energy solutions, such as solar mini-grids and biogas systems. While I agree with this recommendation, I wanted to find out, we are just coming from a workshop in Livingstone, where we were guided that solar in itself, if maybe to power maybe about 200 houses, we may need to cover almost 2 acres of land. And covering that 2 acres of land will also be able to disturb the cultivation and all. So I don't know if during your interrogations you are able to get some detail, especially from the minister, on how he intends to deal with this matter, especially with the issue of, a lot of solar panels would be required. I'm sure for some of us who have tried to just put even in a home, we have realized that you may put 10 panels, but still your refrigerator and your maybe cooker cannot even work. So I don't know, did you try to interrogate on that one and see how feasible this recommendation will be able to sit in?
Thank you. You can respond to that as we are winding down.
Chair, when it comes to the solar versus the issue of space, you may wish to know that we have enough land that is actually not even suitable for agriculture. So it's not everywhere where you put solar panel that you actually disturb the agriculture activities. So it's something that is quite visible. We have seen quite a number of countries like China, where they have gone on massive construction of this solar powered system. Thank you.
Okay, now in terms of...
Chair, maybe I could just supplement.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Just to supplement what our chairperson has submitted, it is true, Honorable Nyirenda, that solar has limitations. And even how green is something which needs to be interrogated. But for now, there's a bit of a surge that solar is one of the drivers in terms of renewable energy. But there is a design horizon for most of the solar panels would probably run for about 30 years. So in 30 years' time, you're going to have a lot of waste. Now that waste, it goes back to, again, how do you dispose it of? So it's not 100% green. But it is true, solar has limitations. But as much as we push for renewable energy or an energy mix, which is largely, clean energy, I think our committee focused more in terms of what would be an immediate intervention to help ease the challenges in the energy sector. But your observation in terms of coverage and the amount of land it consumes and the limitations of solar, solar does have some limitations, I think.
Thank you. I just wanted to find out, if you check out your total budget that which you have, 82% of it goes to head number 2102. That is the electricity development and electricity management, which I think primarily more of this is under REA, I think so, the Rural Electrification Authority. And we are aware that through our interrogations, REA has not been doing this job as they should be. In that, even if they are given money, their benefit rate has been very, very low. And most of their concentration is on the hydropower, which now has given us these challenges. And like what Pundu said, if you look at the amount which has been allocated under the number 2103, that is the renewable energy and alternative energy development management, is quite low. It's like this basically 7.9 million. It's almost like maybe we want to do some research and design. But I want to believe there is a lot of work that which needs to be there, apart from giving capital projects. Now, I want to just find out, any of you, and if at all this issue came up under REA, year in and year out, they have been given funds. Even now, we know that this committee is aware that they have funds, which basically they are failing to utilize, and we are so allocating more funds with them. And since that you have the power as a committee to shift within the heads, the amounts, was there any consideration of maybe getting something out of this 1.8 billion, which has been given to REA for next year, to take it maybe to head number 2103? Knowing that even the funds released are not as much as they are supposed to be, but did you consider that? Because I think the little funds that you have should go to areas of priority now as we shift to look at these other alternative sources of energy. So I just wanted to find out whether there was that. Then the second one, the last one for me, is most of, as one of the members, I think Honorable Simushi has indicated, that most of the committees that have appeared before this committee have indicated, and which is true, that the funding has been reduced. But also we are looking at the other side of revenue mobilization. One of the heads you have here in terms of non-tax revenue will account also to the improvement in terms of the bottom line, in terms of the fund base. Did you also try to interrogate these heads who appeared before you, whether they could have other sources where would we get something in terms of upping the revenue base? Because we are complaining that in terms of what you have been given is not enough, but also we need to look at the other side, where is the money is coming from. So I thought maybe you can comment on those two, and then if there are no questions, we can end here, honorable members. Okay, you can respond to those.
I'll comment to the 7.9 allocated to renewable alternative energy and development, renewable and alternative energy development and management. The chair, like you have rightly indicated, indeed, we also agree that the amount allocated for this renewable and alternative energy development is not adequate. Surely, in terms of asking the ministry as to whether we can move resources from other areas to beef up on this one. This is not the issue that was not fully interrogated, but we agree with you that we needed to have interrogated, and the resources, especially where we have the energy sector standard and regulation, the total amount allocated, which is 92 million, it is also our view that some of the resources can be moved to support the renewable energy.
Chair, just to supplement Honorable Chair's submission in regards to what appears to have a mismatch or misallocation of resources. I do remember that at some point during our interrogation, we were equally questioning as to why there was more money allocated towards electricity. And as you note, we did at some point, bring RIA to question, because most of the projects that RIA embarked on are still lying idle as we speak. And I think that they were at pains to explain why most of it remains white elephants despite them being fully funded. Now, you will agree with us, Chair, that whereas we would look at issues from one perspective, our colleagues, the technocrats, may be looking at issues from a different perspective. Here where we sit, we feel that more money should have been allocated towards renewable energy activities. Our friends, our technocrats' priorities are elsewhere. I want to believe that from our interrogation, it looks like the Ministry of Energy is focusing on having, independent power producers embarking on these projects, other than government itself embarking on projects in the renewable sector. This is why you see that monies are not being allocated towards that end, because the priority of the ministry seems to be centered on the private sector participation, other than government having a footprint in the renewable energy sector. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Wapula, you can see your.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Chair. Just to augment what my two honorable members have alluded to. Chair, as we embark on these auxiliary energy options, auxiliary renewable energy options, the budget must be moving in tandem with the human capital. So RIA's biggest challenge has been among others, has been that when the funding is upscaled, there is no corresponding funding in terms of, to grow the human capital. So you have a fixed number of personnel, and then you double the budget, which is the instance we had last year, but you have not recruited, corresponding, able to assimilate, the volume of projects which has been expanded. So from that angle, it becomes very difficult, for them to undertake, the numerous projects which have increased with the limited personnel they have. From last year, we had an incident where they needed to, shift around some money and recruit a few more, engineers or personnel to be able to supplement their core technical personnel. But it's something which the committee had looked at, and to boost their performance, it will be prudent in future that when you are planning to expand the budget, you must look at, how is the structure in terms of, human capital, and what do you need, in terms of personnel to be able to proportionately, grow the activities physical on the ground, and be able to have projects duly managed on time. For now, they are struggling with the personnel vis-a-vis the volume of resources which are allocated to them. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right, and from Honorable Mabumba.
For me, Chair, I know you have asked a number of questions around the energy sector, and I totally agree with all those that have submitted. Because you see, the future for the Ministry of Energy is in Program 2101, Program 2156, and program 2157. The other one, 2158, 2199, these are administrative programs. Even if you don't give them sufficient money, the ministry would still survive. Now, Chair, like Honorable Mpundu had said, if, and I have consistently said, if Zambia is going to come out of these, electricity challenges that we have had, including even fuel, the government itself should be able to put up upfront money. That is an inescapable responsibility that we have as a country, Chairman. So I'm sure maybe in future budgets, maybe for this one, because we are just starting this sector budget analysis, I think our colleagues in this committee on energy and other sectors, I think they should be able to interrogate the ministry that if the government doesn't allocate money in these 3 programs, we'll not go anywhere. Kenya used to have load shedding. Look at Tanzania. Tanzania, when you go in Dar es Salaam, Chairman, there were gensets all over. But today, if you go to Tanzania, what has happened? They have got excess power. Why? The government put up upfront money. In Kenya, the government did feasibility studies and went and attracted the private sector because of the amount of risk which is in there. So, colleagues, maybe, Honorable Chair, just to encourage our colleagues that maybe for the future budgets, I think, we really need to interrogate our colleagues, both in the Ministry of Energy as well as the Ministry of Finance, because if they don't continue, Chairman, putting money into these 3 programs, then we'll be doomed. If you recall, ZESCO told us in Livingstone, 2 megawatts can power 200 households. So if you came in my district, Mwense, and put a solar plant at 2 megawatts, would be able to power almost 400 households. And it means my district would be hived off from ZESCO. So if we began to go into that direction, Chairman, in terms of budget allocation, then we can make a lot of progress. We may not be able to go across the country, but if we said, let's begin with maybe 10 districts, and this program was already there in the Ministry of Energy, 2 megawatts in each district. So, colleagues, I think we have got a huge responsibility under this particular sector if we have to come out of this, to interrogate these 3 programs. Why is the government just allowing to say no, the private sector? The tariff is low. So, Chairman, I thought I should just comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment on Umba. So I noted that I think some of the heads you indicated are under green economy, like 2156, 2158. Yeah, but you are right on point in what in fact you have alluded to. Okay, honorable members, we end here. Honorable. Okay, maybe before you respond, I say Andy from Honorable Sitwala, General Retired.
Chair, thank you very much. Just a few words to add on what my colleagues have rightly said. I think what we've gone through this year has taught us a very, very big lesson. And maybe instead of talking about pushing it to the future, Chair, I just want to request you that when the Minister of Finance comes, I think this is one issue that we should really put to bed with him, because it's quite urgent in my view. We cannot postpone this to the next budget. That's just
a valid point. Thank you. Honorable Mpundu, and then we'll close.
Yeah, I almost wanted to say something close to what the General has said. Maybe not the view of the committee, but I'm of the view personally that we do have an opportunity as a country to rise over this challenge. One thing for me that remains clear is that, number one, the country needs to be consistent with its policies, particularly in the energy sector. What seems not to be working must be discarded off. You do not, Chair, that though it's a personal view, I did not agree from the word go that we needed to have changed the policy in regards to how we handled the fuel subsector. You've seen today that even after converting our pipeline into a single product pipeline, today we've been confronted with a problem and we have had to revert. And today we have now to build another pipeline. So that is taking us into reverse gear. Secondly, Chair, I'm of the view that had we not abandoned, even though this committee tried to ask that question, but at the time we were asking, the minister was not around and the technocrats could not answer this question in regards to what government policy is in the nuclear energy sector. You do not, Chair, that this country had an opportunity to develop nuclear facilities. We had support from the Russian government that led us into establishing the Atomic Nuclear Agency, led by the late Roland Mosiska, which project would have seen the establishment of a science school as well as a nuclear power plant in the north. That program, Chair, would have addressed for the future our energy crisis, because we have a lot of uranium resources lying around all around the country which are not being exploited. And when we had that opportunity, Chair, it would have answered these problems, because the countries that were benefiting from that project, Egypt today is testing their nuclear power plant. South Africa today is testing their nuclear power plant. Zambia would have been testing our nuclear power plant today. We would have been a net exporter of power had we not abandoned that, program. So when you have a chance to interrogate with the minister, please, maybe we need to find out why government has abandoned this, lucrative sector, the nuclear power, facet. Because it will actually help us rise. Because like the others have submitted, even as we keep singing about solar energy is not guaranteed. I feel that nuclear energy is much more stable.
Okay.
I submit, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable members, we have to end. Honorable Kakuba. Okay.
Chair, I just thought we need to be aware that the offer from Russia was not a free investment. It was actually a loan, a full loan. And as you know, the debt restructuring has just been achieved. There was no headroom for government to borrow any more money. So if any consideration can be made, it has to be now, not before. So the assumption that the facility was readily available for government to venture into may not be completely correct.
That's the challenge of where you're brought. No, it's also right in there, because you said you on a personal level, you should needed to speak as a committee on what you have brought. So I allow that to flow. It's helpful, because these are the discussions that which we need to. But because of that, then you see within your committee. But also, I wanted to indicate, as you leave as a committee, and we are privileged that the chairperson for that committee is here. I would have also strongly recommended that, because we have not finalized this position, this process of our city, if the Minister of Energy with the PS maybe can, because this committee basically we're interested in figures. We gave like where we have 1.8 sitting under here. And we expected maybe in your report, at least to say, we wanted maybe 300 million from there to be moved from that to this. We can still get that as an addendum. It will help us, because if we engage them, that will help this committee. We did want to talk basically generically, where members were done. I will not take any other comments. Just as a way, I wanted maybe to request through the chairperson that maybe if there is room to engage the PS and the minister, see where maybe we can remove a bit of money from the heads that which are there now. Honorable members, the time is gone. Okay, Honorable, I will allow him. He has not.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and committee members. It was put forth before the ministries that came for interrogation under Ministry of Energy that there is need for increase in allocations to priority key programs within the ministries. Chair, the budget is gone now, so we had already recommended that there should be increase in these key programs. So the budget is done now. There's nothing that can be done as for now, because the budget is already passed. Is already passed now. So, but we had recommended the chairperson did that key programs has to be implemented.
Okay. So we still have room anyway, especially if you are dealing with within the heads. Our ward, I think, as a committee is under here, so you can still shift some funds here and there. Honorable members, we need to come to the end. Honorable member for Wapula, you can switch off your mic. Sorry, honorable members, we are way out of time. Thank you, our colleagues, for coming through this committee. These submissions we have given are very valid, and we'll take care of those as we consolidate. Sorry, we are rushing out. We are way out of time. My apologies for that. Have a good day. We'll see you in the afternoon. Thank you.
And I'm not saying they don't or they do, but I'm saying that There are very few things that affect that. You need